Good morning. I'd like to bring the December 18, 2019 Planning Advisory Commission to order. I appreciate your attendance both here and on the television. First, we'll rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First of all, I'd like to remind everyone in the audience to please silence or turn off your cell phones. And I remind those in the audience, those watching by television, that this is the first hearing of any rezoning, text change, or special exception request brought before us today. We will first hear a reading of the staff report for the case by planning staff. Ask the applicant to provide a brief overview of the request. We will then give the opportunity for anyone in the audience to speak for or against the request or to inquire about the said request. Our commissioners will then have any needed discussion on the case. Once a motion is made and seconded by the commission, a vote will take place and a recommendation will be rendered. The case will go back to the Planning Department for their independent recommendation. If a favorable recommendation is given, then the case is forwarded to City Council with the two independent recommendations. If the Planning Department makes a recommendation for denial, the applicant will then have 10 days from the receipt of a letter stating the denial to notify the Clerk of Council that they are requesting to be placed on the City Council's agenda. The City Council of Columbus will then hold a public meeting, first reading, that's what it's called. Said council will then consider the case, review PAC and Planning Department recommendations, hear discussion on the matter. Council will then make a final decision at a second public hearing, which will be called the second reading. Okay. Our first agenda item today is to check with you guys and see if you had an opportunity to take a look at the minutes. If there's any changes need to be made, please bring them forward. Anyone? Coach, glad you got here.
Yeah.
Good to see you this morning. Okay. All right. Nothing there. We'll go ahead and assume the minutes are good. We'll get down to our first case here. We have 3 rezoning cases today. First case is REZN 11-19-6826, a request to rezone 1.40 acres of land located at 1308 Road Street and 1622, 1620, 1616, 1612 13th Avenue, and 1307, 1309, and 1319 16th Street. Current zoning is NC, Neighborhood Commercial, and RMF, which is Residential Multifamily 1. Proposed zoning is GC, General Commercial. The proposed use is General Retail. Terramore Development is the applicant. This property is located in Council District 7. Mimi Woodson. We'll hear from planning first on the staff report.
Yes,
Mr.
sir. General land use is inconsistent for planning area D. Current land use designation is vacant. Future is single-family residential. It is compatible with existing land uses. The property does not lie within the floodway and floodplain area. The developer will need an approved drainage plan prior to issuance of a site development permit if a permit is required. Property is served by all city services. Average annual daily trips will increase by 815 trips if used for commercial use. The level of service will remain at a level B. This site shall meet the codes and regulations of the Columbus Consolidated Government for commercial usage. There will be no school impact. The site shall include a Category C buffer along all property lines bordered by the RMF1 zoning district. The 3 options are under Category C are 20 feet with a certain amount of canopy trees, understory trees, and shrubs, ornamental grasses per 100 linear feet, 10 feet with a certain amount of shrubs, ornamental grasses per 100 linear feet, and a wood fence or masonry wall, 300 feet undisturbed natural buffer. No response from Fort Benning, no DRI recommendation. The north zoning is general commercial, south is residential office, east is residential multifamily 1, west is neighborhood commercial. 75 property owners within 300 feet of the subject properties were notified of the rezoning. The planning department received no calls and or emails regarding the rezoning. There's no additional information.
All right, thank you, Mr. Renfro. Commissioners, do you have any questions of planning regarding the staff report? Anyone? All right. That said, will the applicant please come forward, state your name and address for the record, please?
Good morning. My name is George Mize. I'm with the law firm of Page Cranham, 111 Bay Avenue. I'm here today representing your applicant, Terramore Development. Terramore Development's out of Thomasville, Georgia. They're a preferred developer for Dollar General. You got that? Preferred developer for Dollar General, primarily in the Southeast, and over the last 17 years, they have developed more than 280 Dollar General stores. Here with me today on behalf of Dollar General, Mr. Chris Qualheim. The engineering, it's EMC Engineering, certainly one of the most well-respected engineering firms in this region, having been in this area for over 40 years. And here with me on behalf of EMC Engineering is Mr. Bruce Douthit. Did I get that right, Bruce? Yes. Good. As you can see from the site plan, can you cut this on for me? Tap it? Okay. As you can see from the site plan, what we're proposing to do is rezone about 1.4 acres of land located just east of 13th Avenue and sandwiched between Rhodes Street on the north and 16th Street on the south from a combination of NC, GC, and RMF1 to all of GC. This next slide is the rezoning or the zoning map showing you in the bottom left-hand corner, bottom right-hand corner, the property to be rezoned. And as you can see, the GC is outlined in pink. So you can see the proposed use and classification certainly consistent and compatible with surrounding land uses. To the north, the northwest, the far west, to the east, adjoining the property, and one of the properties is already zoned, 1308 Rhodes is already zoned GC. Immediately to the south is also a very large commercial use. It is a large medical office park that some of you guys may be familiar with. We've taken several pictures of the current location. As you can see, it's vacant, it's overgrown. Interesting to me, you can barely see it in the back there, but there's an old rusted Kwanzaa hut. If y'all have ever been by there, it's kind of interesting. But it is overgrown, and what my client proposes to do is to put on this property approximately 9,100 square foot brand new Dollar General store, complete with brand new common areas, new parking lots, new landscaping, new internally directed lighting. And because this property is located in Midtown, the developer is going to use one of its newer, more attractive designs, similar to what's shown here in the rendering, as well as the elevations here. As with all Dollar General stores, they'll be selling first-run, nationally recognized brands, including the brands shown on this particular slide, and I have several other pictures of the interior of various Dollar General stores. I think we've all become accustomed to what Dollar General stores look like, but I wanted you to see that they really do sell nationally recognized brands. That should bring us back to the site plan. There's only one condition that we're requesting in this zoning case. If you can see, there are those things that are crisscrossing in the middle are sanitary sewers. They look like skull and crossbones. And in order to avoid the sanitary sewer, the designers have had to shift the building to the south a little bit, where it actually encroaches about 9 feet into the southern setback line. And so our condition, and as part of this rezoning, is we're seeking a variance, if you will. We're seeking a condition that we be allowed to encroach into the southern setback line up to 9 feet. Let me give you a little background on Dollar General. It is the leading small box neighborhood general store with over 16,000 locations in 44 states, and they employ over 135,000 people. It's one of America's fastest growing retailers. Their goal is to provide their customers with convenience, value, and service. Also, they're a great corporate citizen, having established a literacy program in 1993. And since that time, they've given away over $159 million in grants to nonprofits to help over 10 million people learn to read. The foundation gives away about $12 million a year to enhance, the lives of people in areas where Dollar Generals are located and where they serve. And you may or may not know that any nonprofit, any library, any school that's located within a 20-mile radius of a Dollar General store is eligible to apply for these grants. Dollar General also a very strong supporter of our military and our veterans. They hire thousands of veterans every year, and they have an exclusive partnership with Coca-Cola to recognize and pay tribute to the outstanding military community. The efforts by Dollar General have not gone unnoticed. They've received numerous awards, including the Secretary of Defense Freedom Award, which is the highest civilian award offered by the Department of Defense. As John indicated, the property is serviced by all public facilities and infrastructure. There'll be no additional investment in that regard on the city's part, nor will there be any negative impact to those facilities and infrastructure. EMC has conducted a traffic analysis and determined there'll be no material adverse impact to traffic or to the transportation network, which is consistent with what the staff's finding was in the staff report. The rezoning will have a very positive economic impact to the city and its citizens, including creation of numerous construction jobs during about a 4-month build-out process, together with a substantial increase in business for subcontractors, electricians, plumbers, and others who support the construction industry. And we believe will create about 8 to 10 permanent jobs once the store is up and running. Also, the development will provide a substantial increase in the tax base for ad valorem tax purposes, thus providing a substantial economic return to the city, again, without adversely affecting any existing infrastructure requiring any additional investment on the city's part. We anticipate increasing property tax receipts from about $3,800 a year to over $28,000 a year. Sales tax receipts, there'll be a substantial increase in sales tax receipts, both in connection with the purchase of hundreds of thousands of dollars of construction materials and then permanently once the store is up and running. We expect to generate about $80,000 a year in sales tax receipts. This is one of those rare win-win situations where we're going to come in, we're going to take a vacant, overgrown piece of land, and we're going to put in a nice, clean development, really in an area of town that could use a little shot in the arm. And in return, we're going to have a nice location in Midtown with great access and great exposure to 13th Avenue. We've had no negative comments from our neighbors. In fact, we've received one very, very important letter of support from Midtown Inc. And as you know, Midtown Inc., what they do is they work to sustain and enhance the neighborhoods and businesses in the Midtown area, and you can rest assured they would not have sent a letter of support if they felt that this development would have any detrimental effect at all in this area of town. We believe our rezoning application and request meet all the requirements for rezoning. The GC classification is consistent and compatible with surrounding land uses. All public facilities and infrastructure are located at the site. There'll be no negative impact to those facilities and infrastructure, nor will there be any negative impact to traffic. This development will have very substantial benefit to the community in terms of convenient shopping, tax revenue generation, and job creation. Therefore, we respectfully request that you approve our application and you approve the condition to allow us to encroach into about 9 feet into the southern setback line, and that you further recommend approval to council. Thank you. Be happy to try to answer any questions you might have.
All right. Commissioners, y'all have any questions? Mr. Mize? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's right. All right. Is there anyone in the audience like to speak for this case? Please come up to the podium at this time. And likewise, for those speaking against this case, please come forward at this time. And no one is moving. All right, commissioners, I'd like to open the floor up for a motion.
Well, I have a question for
Sure.
it. He said the Dollar General representative is here. Can you come forward, please?
Sir. Hi, I'm Chris Qualheim with Terramore Development. As George mentioned, we're based out of Thomasville, Georgia. We cover most of the southeast, have 144 counties across Georgia, Florida, and North Carolina.
Wow. You're a busy man.
We build about 50 a year or so across all 3 states.
Good. I just had a question for you. Of course, you can imagine in the community, people talk about a lot of Dollar Generals and things popping up. What kind of studies do you guys do to see if a certain area is fit for a Dollar General?
So Dollar General Corporate has their whole market planning division, and that is their job, is to go to these areas and do their demographic studies, traffic studies, growth patterns, and determine where they see the next growth pockets to be. This one happened to come, it was at the intersection, kind of the 5 Points intersection there. Mm-hmm. And this just happened to be the most feasible property for us and Dollar General and made the most sense for the city as far as location.
Well, I particularly like their location because I drive through there quite a bit, and and it's been going down for a while.
Right.
So it's going to be good to see something new there.
Right.
To add to the aesthetics of the community. And I particularly like this design, and I wish this design could have been employed in more of our communities, versus just because it's in Midtown and
Right.
keeping up with the appearance.
So this building is actually a new prototype for Dollar General.
Okay.
The framing is actually a wood frame. It's built essentially like a house, as opposed to the steel and metal and all is a typical. So you'll see your pitched roof with the architectural shingles. It's designed to fit more of the neighborhood feels, kind of with the residential look, but to provide the commercial goods, retail goods.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming up. And Mr. Chair, for a point of transparency, Midtown did submit a letter, but this is not a Midtown actual venture. So since I'm technically on the board, I don't feel like it's necessary for me to recuse myself from this vote because If we do that every time somebody submit a letter of support, none of us will be voting, right?
That's correct.
So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, well, the floor is open. Yes, sir, did you have another question?
Yes, I have one more question for you, please.
Yes, sir.
And I do like that architectural design a lot better than the other ones that I've seen. But this rezoning will not stipulate that you have to put that exact design in. Do we have your commitment that that's going to be the actual
Yes,
design
sir.
that's placed
Well,
there?
the elevations, the rendering, everything, we can condition that as well. This has been approved by Dollar General, so
Okay.
they are, they're fully aware it's within our budget. So we're
Okay,
more than willing to do exactly what is shown there.
all right.
And just for a point of, and thank you for following up, point of clarity on my comment, it's not that I think people hate Dollar General, because I love to run in and get quick stuff. It's more of a greater economic conversation throughout the community, but it just seems like Dollar General seems to be the one that's really moving the most. And
Right.
so, of course, when you move the most, you get the most attention.
That's right.
So, but thank you for coming up here today,
You're
sir.
welcome.
All right, any other questions, commissioners? Would you like to make a motion?
Okay.
All right, Mr.
Would.
Brown?
Let's see. Let me get back up to my case number, sorry.
That's all right.
In case number REZN-11-19-6826, property located at 1308 Rhodes and 1622, 1620, 1616, 1612 13th Avenue, and 1307, 1309, 1319, 16th Street, where the applicant has requested a new zoning classification of general commercial. Because the use is compatible with existing land uses, I move that we recommend approval to the council with the condition request that the developer may encroach on the setback line as necessary to avoid the sewer lines.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Yes, sir?
Just a question, how specific do we need to be about the allowed variance when you say as necessary?
Well, you asked for the southern,
I mean,
Yeah.
for the applicant, is that the setback that you want? I mean, I don't want to lock you in if you find that you need to
Right.
adjust the building, so I don't want to lock you in.
Does 9 feet give us what we need, Bruce? Okay.
Okay, I just want to be,
The site plan showed 8.5, and I said, let's go 6 inches more.
right, no, well, I just,
No, I appreciate
if that's
that.
the final site plan, then, I mean, I'm sure that's fine. I didn't want to lock you into something, so,
Okay, 9 feet.
Okay.
all right.
all right, then I'd just say they may encroach 9 feet into the southern setback line.
Okay, you got that? All right. Any other discussion?
Probably need to refresh the second since we changed the original motion.
All right. You second that? All right. All those in favor, say aye. I changed it up on you. All by the same side, and it's unanimous. All right. Thank you very much. I got them conditioned to raise hands. How about that? All right, we'll go to our second case here. This is a REZN 11-19-6827. This is a request to rezone 37.87 acres of land located at 1104 Leslie Drive, Columbus. Current zoning is GC, General Commercial. Proposed zoning is RMF1, Residential Multifamily. The proposed use is Residential Multifamily. NeighborWorks Columbus is the applicant. This property is located in Council District 7, Woodson. And we'll hear from Mr. Renfro on this.
Yes, sir.
staff
General
report.
general land use is inconsistent planning area. A. The current land use designation is vacant mobile home. Future is mixed use. It is compatible with existing land uses. The property does not lie within the floodway and floodplain area. The developer will need an approved drainage plan prior to issuance of a site development permit, if a permit is required. Property is served by all city services. Average annual daily trips will increase by 705 trips. If used for residential use, the level of service will remain at a level B. The site shall meet the codes and regulations of the Columbus Consolidated Government for residential usage. No school impact. The site shall include a Category A buffer along all property lines bordered by general commercial zoning district. The three options under Category C are 10 feet with a certain amount of canopy trees, understory trees, shrubs, ornamental grasses per 100 linear feet, 5 feet with a certain amount of shrubs, ornamental grasses per 100 linear feet, and a wood fence or masonry wall, 200 feet undisturbed natural buffer. No response from Fort Benning, no DRI recommendation. North zoning is general commercial, the south zoning is residential multifamily, east is general commercial, west is general commercial. 30 property owners within 300 feet of the subject properties were notified of the rezoning. The planning department received one phone call and/or email regarding the rezoning. It wasn't in opposition or approval, just had a few questions, and there's no additional information.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Renfro. Commissioners, do you have any questions of Mr. Renfro regarding the staff report? All right. All right. Someone with NeighborWorks is coming forward. If you would, please step to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Tell us what you're planning to do here.
Good morning. Merry Christmas. My name's Kathy Williams. I reside at 731 First Avenue, Columbus, Georgia, 31901. I represent NeighborWorks Columbus, who is working in collaboration with First Baptist Church to put this piece of property that is currently vacant into use for affordable housing. Our concept is for a mix of single-family and multifamily, and about 100 units is what we hope, because it does border on Bull Creek, and so we hope to use that property with that buffer for some amenities for the community, which might include things such as walking trails or picnic benches and things like that. We think that South Columbus is due for something great to happen, and affordable housing is what we think is great, because in this community there's quite an extraordinary gap between what is affordable and what is available for our low to moderate income families.
All right. Commissioners, do you all have any questions of Ms. Williams? Anyone?
Thank you.
Kathy, quick question, Kathy. Are there any flood zone concerns down here at all?
There is on the very back of the property. I have a concept plan, if it's not in your packet, that shows that being as undeveloped.
Okay.
And that is the old floodway maps. They haven't been remapped in that area for a long time. But I can tell you that Bull Creek doesn't have any flooding issues, even when the whole river walk is underwater.
Okay.
Well, good. Well, I just want to go on the record saying I appreciate the work of NeighborWorks. I had a chance to work closely with you guys on my previous appointment with the Community Development Advisory Council, and what you do for the folks in those neighborhoods is absolutely tremendous.
Thank you.
So thank you for what you're doing, and I'm sure this is going to be another exciting project for South Columbus.
Thank you.
Ms. Williams, could you kind of explain the timelines on this, too?
Well, you know, what we would like to do on the concept plan is to allow our families to have the ability to build assets. So we're trying to be able to build a capital stack that would allow single family and townhomes with garages, and to have the amenities for the community. So we will hopefully, if everything goes according to plan with the rezoning, we will apply for low-income housing tax credits. We will probably look at perhaps stacking in some new market tax credits, or maybe even tax credit allocation programs. You know, we have to build the capital stack. My anticipation, if we can stay on this timeline, we may be lucky to break ground in 2 years. You know, it'll take us a good year to build that capital stack, a year to then deploy any allocations that we have.
Okay.
Unfortunately, nothing that involves affordable housing today is done quickly.
I got you. All right. Any other questions, Commissioners? Anyone? Thank you very much, Ms.
Thank you,
Williams. All right. Is there anyone in the audience like to speak for this case? Please come forward at this time. Is there anyone that would like to speak against this case? Please come forward at this time. State your name and address for the record, please.
All right, thank you. My name is Burl Berquist. Although I'm born and raised in Columbus, I now live in unincorporated DeKalb County at 570 Ridgecrest Road Northeast. The closest town would be Decatur, Georgia, to where I live. I'm in opposition to any pocket, spot, or island zoning, rezoning, and that is one where there are multiple sides of incompatible or inconsistent zoning. So this would be three-sided with a general commercial GC zoning at this time. I'm not totally unable to be moved if there are conditions met, but I want to give my opposition to pocket rezoning. Conditions that could be met. I own the adjacent properties, And the existing use along one side in particular, I think none of the property owners know exactly where the private water line is, the private sewer line, and the private gas line. Columbus Waterworks does not have it on their plats. I met with Ms. Williams yesterday. None of us seem to know where it is. So I wanted to put a condition that there be an easement to continue the access as there is with the current private water line, private sewer line, private gas lines, once they're located, just so there's not going to be depriving the adjacent parcel, which is a mobile home park, of their access to the water, sewer, and gas lines.
Well, help me understand, you own what property?
I own the parcel, I'm not sure about north, south, east, west, but I own between Victory Drive and this development area, own that parcel.
So you would own the gas station, I'm assuming, and the...
Actually, I do not own the gas station.
Okay, so you don't own that property, so you own everything else going toward the creek, correct?
Well, this
Going
proposed development
east?
is directly behind a parcel I own, and that parcel does front Victory Drive and Bull Creek on one side.
So you own property Bojangles, is it?
No, that's actually too far over too. I really own just directly in front of this parcel.
So are you saying about the flea market?
Yes. I own what is used as a flea market.
So you own the flea market?
Yes, if that helps, yes. I own the flea market, and I own the mobile home park to the side. I'm just not good with north, south, east, west.
Off Leslie Drive?
Right behind Bojangles.
Right behind Bojangles. Okay, I got you.
Okay.
Okay, I just wanted to understand what you're talking about.
Sure. Yeah, that mobile home park has been in existence there for, I know, 48 years and does provide affordable housing. The actual mobile home park manager is here with me today, David Harold, and he has lived there for, I believe, 37 years in that mobile home park.
Did you have a question?
Yes, I guess I asked it on the record. Do we know what the mobile home is zoned?
Right now, it's general commercial is the underlying zoning for that.
Was that a grandfathered?
Is that,
It
because that
is.
clearly is not in compliance.
Right, it's not.
Okay, and I guess since I have the floor, I guess my concern here is
Yes.
that I understand that technically is zone general commercial,
Correct.
but it's being used for residential,
Yes.
which is consistent with what Ms. Williams is saying Columbus Works wants to do. And so it's kind of hard for me to accept an argument that is not consistent when the way that you're currently using one of your locations is inconsistent with what we would want as a zoning department. Can you help me with that a little bit, please?
Certainly. So you're just saying that the current zoning, GC, would not normally allow a mobile home park? Is that what you're
Exactly.
saying?
That's
right.
Okay. At the time, obviously, the mobile home park's been there for, I know, 48 years that I've had it, and before me, my mother and others. So I don't know what the zoning code was at that time. I think
Right.
the zoning code went into effect here in the 70s. I'm not sure exactly when, but this predated that.
Well, but I know we've worked hard to try to clean up some of this, some of our zoning, and our department has done a phenomenal job, our team here with the city, of trying to be consistent with our zoning throughout the city. So, I heard your concern today. Is just what concerns me about that is that the mobile home should not be zoned as general commercial. If people are living in that area, it shouldn't be general commercial. So that's maybe something that we need to look at. How often do you come down? Because
Every week.
every week you come down? Okay. Do you meet with the residents out there in that mobile home location?
On rare occasions, I meet with the residents. It's generally by phone call, but I
Okay.
do meet with.
Well, I'm glad to
Several
see that
weeks.
you're here today in town to speak your voice on this matter, but I know I've had some conversations with some residents in that area. Maybe this is off the record conversation, but I would like to see someone in ownership work with them from a landlord perspective, because there are some real challenges over there that we need to be addressing. But thank you for coming today to express your concerns.
Thank
in
you, and
regards to this
I do
matter.
appreciate I believe this particular mobile home park is one that does not have issues. It's actually been the better one as far as code. If you talk to code enforcement officers, this is one they're happy to know is there.
All right.
The other conditions I would propose would be to have, because it is a zoning that is not as I see it, not compatible, the general commercial with the RMF because of its existing zoning, to the flea market in the front, the mobile home to the side, and actually some mobile homes at the back, that I would ask that instead of a 5, 10, or 20-foot buffer for RMF1 next to GC, that it be viewed as a 40-foot buffer. And that would be because it's viewed as a pocket or island rezoning within a GC where it currently stands. And within that 40-foot buffer, we would like to have recognition of the pre-existing encroachments, which have the continuing use. Basically, parts of the mobile homes over a parcel of the land have been used there for at least 48 years. And so we'd like to have the recognition so that we have both the use, access, and possession to the encroachments within that buffer, and as well as a recognition that the GC zoning that has been there with a mobile home continues to be grandfathered. I don't know what other requirements would be imposed if they had to change zoning, but I know it's compatible now because of its grandfathering in that situation. My other point would be, that one reason to have this 40-foot buffer would be to protect the existing mobile home park users that are there, the residents that are there. These are long-term residents who are typically of a lower income and enjoying their affordable housing. So that is a reason we would be asking for that, the 40-foot buffer instead of a 20-foot buffer, instead of a 10 or even a 5. And that's also why we put the conditions on there for the easements to make sure there's continued to be access to the water, private sewer, private gas lines that do connect up to a master system with the Columbus Waterworks, as well as continuing allowance of and recognition of the encroachments that have been there for at least 48 years.
Quick question, Mr. Chairman.
Question down here on this end, Mr. Brandon.
Well, I was going to ask Mr. Renfro a question. What zoning typically allows a mobile home park? If you're going to put a mobile home park in today, what would we need to zone it as? Or what can it go down to?
We have a mobile home park designation, zoning designation for that.
So it's not in the RMF
No, it wouldn't be.
area? There is a special
Yeah, there's a
zoning.
special designation for
Okay.
mobile home parks.
All right. And then as far as some of these requested conditions, what are we actually able, are any of these conditions, are we allowed to apply those as conditions?
Possibly the easement for the utilities. As far as the overhanging mobile homes onto the other properties, it's private. I mean, they technically own that piece of property now. So that would have.
This is where I'm not the lawyer, and I know we've got at least a couple in the room somewhere.
I don't get paid to be a lawyer here, sir.
The question of the easements, is that not for water and sewer and things like that, aren't easements dictated in the underlying property transaction? Is that something that's dealt with on a zoning?
No, we're talking land use here. We're not,
Well,
as far as working out those easements, that's between NeighborWorks and,
right, all of that will be dealt with through the city
yeah.
and utilities.
Right, but that's not something that we can apply as a condition.
Right.
It's not a zoning
No, absolutely
issue.
not, no.
The reason I had specified that, to have requested that to be a condition to the rezoning is the current applicant is NeighborWorks, but if the property is rezoned, that doesn't have to stay as that applicant, and that could be flipped to someone else. And we wanted to make sure that any verbal agreement that we might have with NeighborWorks would actually become a written easement that's easy to follow for
Right,
any
and-
future developer.
And that's what I was trying to get the answer is that's not a condition that we're able to apply on a zoning
No.
request.
We look at land
Because this
use.
is not, I'm just trying to make sure if we're trying to hear your requests
All right.
and make sure we can do that. And what I'm hearing from staff is that the easement portion is not something, that's not that's not part of what we do or the UDO. So that would be something that I guess you'd have to work out with the city, or would be some sort of legal arrangement that you would make with First Baptist or whoever. It's just not something we can condition here
No.
as part of as a zoning case.
When I met with Planning Department yesterday, I was led to believe that it was something that could be done. So I may be mistaken there, that the easement would be the way to word that.
Okay, we have the planning department here. Can
Yes.
y'all verify that?
I wasn't a part of that meeting.
He-
Okay.
yes, absolutely. Okay. And otherwise, recognition of the long-term use there for the encroachments, that was something else we thought was of importance, because it would still allow that buffer area to be counted toward the property development for the RMF1, but it would be recognizing the long-term.
Well, again, I think that's a legal/property discussion, because we don't have the ability, I mean, if you don't own if the mobile homes are on property that you don't own, that's beyond our scope. I mean, that's a legal arrangement that you need to make, I would think.
Well, that
I'm not
may-
an attorney, I did not stay in a Holiday Inn Express, so.
Surely, and under Georgia law, generally 23 years of it considered like an adverse possession,
Right.
adverse use is it.
Again, that's
and
not,
we've
That's
got-
a
really,
legal-
that's not,
We
that's beyond
look
our.
strictly at land usage here.
Sure.
And the property owners currently have requested a change in the zoning designation, and that's what we look at, if it's appropriate and if it's good for this area.
All right.
So that's
Then
where we
I'm-
are. As far as
that's-
what you have to fight, you're going to have to fight that in another area,
All
on
right,
another
thank you.
stage.
I do have a follow-up question. With the 40-foot buffer, is that on the side of the flood zone where they're not planning to develop? Can you answer that question?
No, that would not be, because that is, the floodplain area is not, I don't own to the side of the floodplain area.
Okay.
No.
Okay, and when we have presentations, words matter to me. You say you
All right.
want this 40-foot buffer because you want to protect the residents that are there. What's the fear? What are you afraid of? Why can't they be neighborly and work? You know, because this is going to be low-income housing as well and very nice homes. So, you know, what is the fear here?
It is just the fact that this is a precedent for setting for a pocket, island, or spot rezoning within a rezoning, multiple sides that are not that same, whether it should have been MH, mobile
Well, no,
home, or
we've
something
addressed
else.
that, and we said that this probably should have been rezoned a long time ago. So if we were up to code, it wouldn't be a pocket. So I guess what I'm getting to, you say you want to protect your residents with this 40-foot buffer from the development that is trying to come. What are you trying to protect them from?
Spot zoning, because the RMF
But they don't
would
own
be
the
spot
property.
zone within a mobile home park
You say you want to
rezoning.
protect and I'm not trying to be argumentative here, I'm just trying to really understand. You say you want to protect the residents, they don't own the properties, right? So really, they have no legal interest. So it sounds as if you were trying to protect them from individuals that may be moving in or something of that nature.
Oh, I did not, I intended
misunderstood
as
you?
spot zoning, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry if I misunderstood you.
Yeah, maybe
All
it
right.
wasn't clear.
Yes, ma'am.
So my vote would be in opposition to it as a spot zoning.
So that's really your only opposition today?
It's not the only, I gave my others, but those may be some that are not compatible with what the Planning Advisory Commission is concerned with.
Right.
In their duties.
Mr. Dudley, you have a question?
I'm just wondering if the applicant has any comment on, for example, the request for an increased buffer, if that would complicate applicant's plans.
Yes, please, come up
sorry.
forward here. I think the question is, do you have any issues with this increased buffer that they're requesting?
Yeah, it would eliminate a third of the housing units. That would, we have backyards in every one of these units, so there is a buffer between where the house, back door is and where the fence of the property would be, which would be the yards of these families. To eliminate those yards would, make a whole street, if you've seen the concept plan, a whole street undevelopable, and would take out about 30 units. So, again, it's all about being able to build that capital stack to make this feasible and affordable, and often that's difficult. We didn't go for RMF2 or RMF2 because that would have allowed us multifamily and would have allowed us to increase the density there, which perhaps would have enabled us to have some ability to move footprints within the developable footprint of the property. But we really want to be able to bring single family to South Columbus because not everybody wants to raise their children in apartments or trailers. And we want to bring real decent single family housing to that area so that these families can not only live in sustainable, affordable housing, but can also build an asset for their family's future. So that's the intent of the concept. It's not the highest use. I understand that, but it's what we feel this community needs, and it's what we feel this community deserves. So it would take out a pretty substantial amount of the new housing along that street. If you haven't seen the concept, I do have a copy, I'd be happy to share with you.
Mr. Chairman?
Oh, okay, all right, good.
Mr.
All right.
Chairman?
Question, we have one more question.
Well, I was going to ask Ms. Williams a question before she stepped away. Although a lot of the conditions she's requesting, we can't act on as a planning commission, I don't believe.
Correct.
But just as on the record, would you work with your neighbors on things like sewer lines and property lines?
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
things
we
like
want to
that?
be good neighbors. We want to build this area up. I mean, we want everybody to benefit, not only our families, but contiguous property owners. And I explained to Ms. Burquest yesterday kind of the timeline, that nothing's going to happen overnight, and that we will be happy to work with her on moving any lines, the private lines that now serve those trailers, in waiting until those trailers are vacant. About half of them are vacant now, before she needs to move them off of the encroached property line. I mean, we're going to be good neighbors, and we're going to work with any contiguous property owners, but they are private lines, they're master metered, wouldn't be too difficult to move them.
Well, I mean, you're publicly committing to working with her on those
Absolutely.
issues. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have one question. My understanding is that a buffer could include a backyard. It just means it's not new construction on it. Am I mistaken on that? I don't think that hurts the backyards that could be within a buffer zone. And that buffer line there actually is townhomes on the plat, not single families.
The back of the houses have to be so far from the buffer line themselves.
Okay.
Yes.
Back door, okay.
Good.
Thank you. Any further questions for me?
No, not
All
that I
right,
know of.
thank you.
All right. Does anyone else in the audience like to speak against this case or for this case? Please come forward. All right, commissioners, open the floor up for a motion, if we're ready. Mr. Brannon.
I'll do it.
Thank you.
In the case of REZN-11-19-6827, property located at 1104 Leslie Drive, the request to rezone it from general commercial to RMF1, because it is compatible with existing land uses, I move that we recommend approval to the city council.
I have a motion. We have a couple of seconds. Any discussion? All right, we'll change it up. All those in favor, raise your right hand. And all opposed? All right, it's unanimous. Thank you very much. All right, we move on to the last case of the day, REZN 12-19-6903, a request to rezone 11.83 acres of land located at 1234 Bradley Park Court and 6270, 6330, 6270, 6310, 6320, 6408, 6415, and 6424 Bradley Park Drive and 122 Enterprise Court. Current zoning is LMI Light Manufacturing Industrial. Proposed zoning is GC General Commercial. The proposed use is general commercial. The Planning Department is the applicant. The property is located in Council District 8. And we'll hear from Mr. Renfro on the staff report.
Yes, sir. General land use is consistent. Planning Area A, current land use designation is light manufacturing industrial. Future land use is general commercial. It is compatible with existing land uses. The property does not lie within the floodway and floodplain area. The developer will need an approved drainage plan prior to issuance of a site development permit if a permit is required. Property is served by all city services. There'll be no traffic impact. The site shall meet the codes and regulations of the Columbus Consolidated Government for commercial usage. No school impact, no buffer requirements, no Fort Benning recommendation, no DRI recommendation. The surrounding zoning, north is residential office, south is general commercial, east is the highway, west is single-family residential 3. 50 property owners within 300 feet of the subject's properties were notified of the rezoning case. The Planning Department received no phone calls or emails regarding the zoning. Additional information, this is a joint rezoning initiated by the planning department to bring all parcels into zoning compliance. And additional information, when the Bradley Park Drive area was rezoned for development in 1987 to GC General Commercial, the area north of Enterprise Court remains zoned as LMI, Light Manufacturing Industrial Zoning District. Over the last 30 years, office uses have been permitted in the LMI portions of Bradley Park Drive. When the new Unified Development Ordinance was established in 2005, offices were no longer permitted in LMI, thus making the office uses non-conforming. And that's it.
We've had a bunch of non-conforming uses this morning, have we not? Anyway, and you are the applicant, Planning Department, Mr. Johnson?
Yes, sir, Will Johnson, Columbus Planning Department. The southern portion of Bradley Park Drive, where you know Chef Lee's and Moon Meeks, whatnot, was rezoned GC in 1987. The northern section, all those offices were allowed in there under a designation called Office Unclassified. So they just sort of slipped under the radar in 2005, as Mr. Renfro said. That designation went away. So those became non-conforming. Over the years, of course, we've had new construction in there. The most recent one is a dentist office. That is part of this rezoning. We have let them continue because we started this process last fall of 2018. Because this is not our property, we have to get the ownership information signed off on a zoning application. That's why all the properties are not included. The only ones that are included are the people who signed the ownership forms. We had one who just wanted to keep their LMI. Couple who just, we had conversations and never responded, and then some that just never responded at all. So what's come forward is the folks we've heard from.
All right. Commissioners, y'all have any questions? Mr. Reese, I see your finger heading toward the button.
Yeah, thank you. You cleared up one question I had previously, and that was, what was the process when we find non-conforming areas? It sounds like you tried to work with the entity to work jointly to get them to a conforming position, and I'm sure that compromise is something that would not hurt them.
No.
Oh, okay. So with that said, when you have situations like this, do we have a process to where we can move forward with the zoning? What options do we have here? Like, so now, if we move forward with this is going to be a spotted area where you're going to have an LMI right in the middle of and the intent was to make the whole area general commercial. So what options do we have as a government moving forward? Is it at the change of ownership maybe, or
Anybody who comes forward after this process, unless if they come forward as a group, the ones remaining, then we will steer it through. But it's private property. So if you missed your opportunity here, you're on your own, just like anyone else who needs to rezone.
And if you get ready to sell it, you'll have to go through the cost and all.
No, you can sell it and not a problem.
But you have to sell it at the current zoning status.
Yeah, and you know, it's when you, let's say it's a dentist office and they want to change it to a new use, if it's not within the 6 months of the grandfather clause, you could lose that and you would have to rezone it.
Right.
And what's the average cost on a rezoning?
That would be a minor rezoning, so it's $1,000.
But, so right now you're getting it,
You're
these
getting it
folks are
free.
getting it for free.
No signs, no fee, we're handling everything.
Do we have any tools, last question, any tools within your department's toolbox that can force zoning as long as it doesn't violate constitutional principles of taking? So there's nothing we can do to make this general commercial, even though it wouldn't hurt them at all?
No, it wouldn't hurt them at all, but no, we can't.
Okay.
And like I said, I had home builders tell me that they had an individual who said, no, it needs to stay LMI because it gives us more options. GC is going to give you the most options out of every designation in Columbus, Georgia.
Yeah.
So now that LMI is sitting out there on an island, but hey.
So because they got bad information from somebody. Okay, I got you.
Yes, sir.
Only just so it's out there, my mother rents an office at 6416 but has no ownership interest in the property. So I don't feel that's exclusionary, but I just wanted to at least say it and to in case somebody said, oh, your mom has an office there. She is, we have no financial interest in the
I'm
building.
sure whatever she's doing will fit on the general commercial, right?
She's a CPA,
Yeah,
yes.
it'll fit
Yes.
under there,
Oh,
yeah.
That fits. All right, any other questions, commissioners? All right. All right, so there's no one, is there anyone in the audience? And I have just one person shaking his head. Okay, we open the floor up for a motion.
We'll knock this out. As it relates to matter REZN 12196903, a request to rezone 11.83 acres of land located at 1234 Bradley Court and 6270, 6310, 6320, 6408, 6416, 6424 Bradley Park Drive, and 122 Enterprise Court. I move that we approve the zoning request as presented by the Planning Department, located in Council District 8, Garrett's, to general commercial.
We got a motion, we got a second from Mr. Bullinger. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed by the same sign.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Well, we reached the end of this meeting, and this is the last meeting of the year 2019. Since you got all these Christmas holidays coming up, first of all, I want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And your gift is we won't have another meeting till February.
Yep.
And it looks like it'll be February the 5th, although it's in the minutes as January. So I wish you all well. Is there any other business we need to bring forward today? Thank you for your attention and your time, and we are adjourned.